Hello, good evening, everyone. I hope you all having a good time. My name is Lucy Isaiah, as you know, aka Madam CEO. I'm back again. It has been long, I've been here, but you know, a lot of behind the scene work. We've been busy. They are Black female entrepreneur. Um, anyway, let's get back to why we're here. Sorry, we're a bit late. Technical, this technical issue, you can't beat it. But we're back. We're back. We love to be back. Let me see. I don't know if my volume is on. I'm just gonna check quickly. Yeah, my volume is on. Yeah. So, guys, welcome to Black History 2025. We have a lot going on at the Black History Month. It's quite a lovely season for us. We always enjoy Black History Month. Big shout out to RBG for actually funding this project, and it's going to be an very interactive session this evening. And going further, more interactive session coming because it's going to be part 1, part 2, and again we are also anchoring Nigerian Community Greenwich live online show. So you're gonna see more of my face, and I have my co-host here with me. Oh, Gaga in the house. Hashtag AKA Blade in the building. Um, so let's get this show running. I am looking forward to this conversation, and I hope you all too are looking forward to it. So it has been a beautiful, lovely time. It has not been easy. I've been unwell, but I'm getting there. I'm getting there. So that's why some of you have not seen me. And big shout out to all those that have actually called to say hello, Lucy. I hope you're getting better. I'm getting better. What can I say? This is always my go-to. I enjoy doing this. So this is Black History 2025, and our hint for this Black History Month, our project for this Black History Month is about the forgotten African soldier. That is the main, every year when we do this, we kind of just slot it in. But I think we just thought it is really, really important. It is right time we actually make it our main project, and it has been very interesting putting this work together. I've enjoyed every moment of it. We're doing the tapestry. We're also doing the presentation. We have a memorial service for this event. So those of you 28 were in Woolwich Common, please join us to do this memorial service. You can book a ticket. You can actually just pop in, invite your friends and family. Every one of us, I think some of the conversation I was having with Ogaga, that was 2 days ago. See, 2 days ago, I said, if you look at the number of people that actually participated in World War I, World War II, if we bring it down to statistic with the number and do the maths, I will tell you that every family has someone that has fought for World War I, World War II, either through the British colony or through the European, France and Germany and the rest. But I'm not going to say too much because this is a very dicey one. Big shout out to all those that have actually supported us to put this program together. It is not easy. I am telling you. It is easy to see when program come into life, you can enjoy it. But I'm telling you, the nitty-gritty behind the scene, that is torture in another way. But we like it, we enjoy it anyway. But it's not an easy job. you know, the write-up, the presentation, booking of hall, trying to get things to put together, put the artists together. There's a big old dialogue altogether. But you know what? We do what we love doing best. So without wasting time, we're going to dive into this conversation. I want to use this opportunity to welcome my co-host, Ogaga, in the house. Ogaga, if you're here, I think my guests are ready to listen to you. Please pop in and be part of this event. If you're here, just introduce yourself and let's get on with the show.
Good evening, Auntie Lucy. Nice to be with you again.
I hope this network is not going to parabolate you because your volume is going bad. This network needs to bam. You need to bam.
Okay, let me switch network.
Switch, you have to switch. If you have to switch, you have to switch it like when they do the bullet. Cha cha cha. Switch it. Because I need that conversation to be hitting on. So guys, we have range of activities going on at the Black. Go to our website, www.blackfemaleentrepreneurbridge.com. You know, there's a lot of things we've put in there. You're going to see a lot of events to participate, take part, and be part of this great event. There's a lot happening throughout the Christmas time, going over to 2026, January, February, March, and then we're now preparing for May, which is the African month. We have some workshop coming on also for some of the craft tapestry we'll be doing. We're going to do a face-to-face exhibition in Kidbrook, and also we're going to do some at Eltham. We have online craft. I think myself and Susan we're also planning to give you a hint on for those of you doing Christmas decoration, what can you use to decorate? You know, what can you do with your kids? Different decoration. We'll be working on that. So we're looking forward to. So I think myself and Susan will be on the Black Female Facebook. If it's possible, we can actually go live on YouTube to see which one. We'll see how the day goes. But if not, we'll be on our Facebook 12 to 1. 12 to 1, we'll be showing you some of the tapestry work we're doing on the Forgotten African Soldier, because we need to finish that work. I think we started that work in, May? Is it May? I think it's May. I think so. I think it was in May. No, we started that work last year, May. You know, our artwork is very intrigued because you're going to use it's a fine hand knitting design we're actually using on it. So the tapestry is more about the Forgotten African Soldier. Well, then we'll talk about the different type of poppy. For those of you that are not aware, there's a lot of poppy. We have the black poppy, which is to honor the Black African and Caribbean soldier. We have the purple one. I think the purple one is for the animals that they use during the World War I. They use a lot. They use bird, horses, dog. So then the red one, I think it's for the World War or so soldier that died. Then the white one is for the civilians that died during the war. So it's good for you to educate yourself about them. I'm very intrigued when I'm beginning to know about some of these different poppy, but sometimes they just focus only on the red one. I think all poppy, since it has a very big significant meaning for the World War I and World War II, they should all be celebrated. We need people to actually know about it. I think Banka is having some serious network issue, but let's see. While he's trying to log in, I will just feed you in with what we have for you. So I'm just going to run down the calendar for you so that will help you to actually know what we're doing. And drop us an email. We have our pop-up market. The Christmas market is coming up. Our Christmas market will be at Woolwich Library on the 4th of December. Woolwich Library, we have the Christmas market from 11 to 6 p.m. If you want to book a store, go to our website and then you can book your store in there. And if you are not able to navigate yourself, our website is quite simple. You understand? It's quite simple. It's not very challenging. It's very simple. We'll make it as simple, user-friendly. But if you still have challenge in actually looking for what you're doing, just drop us an email, or you can actually call us by the number on the flyer. Always go to our websites, always go to our social media platform, and you get a lot of information about what we're doing. So keep yourself here. We've not been online for a while because there's a lot of things we're doing. We've been dealing with a lot of welfare issue. This cost of living, energy cost is really it's really putting
this network. It seems this one is worse, right?
No, I don't think so. I've not heard you speak anyway. It's really putting a toll on a lot of our families. So that is why we've been busy supporting them. So, Ogaga, can you introduce yourself? Let's get on with this business for today. Are you back? You need to be testing this thing before you come online. Are you good to go? So, guys, I will just go into Ogaga. Are you good? I think Ogaga is having problem with his network. Not sure what is happening there.
Okay, I think this network is better.
So what's happening? Can we get on? Can you let's get on with this? That you need to calm down.
This network is better. So let's use this. Let's go ahead. Can you hear me clearly?
I can hear you clearly, yeah.
Okay, sorry for the technical error. It seems Zoom requires a very stronger network because it's working on other apps. But when it comes to Zoom, so are we good to go?
Yep. Go on.
Okay. I'm Ogaga Loveday, aka Bledoji, the general manager of BFEG Voice Radio, a writer and a blogger, and jack of all trades, master of all. Welcome to welcome to our special BFEG edition of the Black History Month, PH365. Over to you, Madam Lucy.
Okay, maybe because you've been popping in and out, I have actually been introduced. I've done that already. Guys, you're welcome to Black History 2025. Like I say earlier on, our main project for this Black History Month is the Unsung Heroes, the Forgotten African Soldier. This is something that we've been talking over the years, but I think this year we decided to take it as a project on its own. So there's a lot of activities that will be happening regarding this forgotten African soldiers. I'm very passionate about this because I'm from a military home. My dad is a naval officer, served in UK in Portsmouth as a naval engineer. Contribute to this Great Britain. My great grand uncle and two of my great grand uncle actually fought in Burma War, in World War I and World War II. So, and I believe there's so many people who they are relative, because it's not every one of them that actually come back home. So some die in the war, some were taken. So it's gonna be a very dicey, and you know what? And I'm so glad that we actually pick up this project to do. Looking at what is happening today in UK with the immigration, I think the camera is okay. Put it where it is before. Put it where it is before. It's okay like that. Yeah. Looking at what is happening with the immigration and everything about the refugee, people need to go back where you come from. I think sometimes people just have to. We need to spend more time in knowing about our history. It is important, especially in Britain, especially in Europe. Maybe we've decided to put a blind eye to a lot of things. I think as we go into this topic more, most of you will know it's a very sensitive issue that some people don't like talking about it. But when you don't talk about things, it never gets solved. There's no need of us. We got to a state that we don't need to run away from this conversation. The conversation needs to be had, because the conversation needs to be discussed. We have to discuss it. We need to talk about it. So I'm very passionate about it. I remember somebody saying to me in the bus one day, go back to your country. Somebody said that to me in the bus, and I turn around and I look at her and say, go back to which country? I just look at him and said, so you feel I don't belong here? But my father served in the British Navy for so many years in the early 60s. My great grand uncle, my grandfather, they fought in Burma War, World War I, World War II. So when they were fighting, did you tell them to go back? I don't think you did. So it's going to be a very dicey issue, but we're going to get on. We have to have this conversation. So over to you, Okaga. Before I start peeling all the orange, I need to go slowly.
Yeah, thank you very much. This is a conversation many people don't like having. But good thing over the years, a few journalists, few historians and writers have contributed in trying to keep the memory of the role of these forgotten African soldiers. It highlights how much a role racism played in the past. And it's still playing today, because as we will dive into subsequently in this conversation, the contributions of African soldiers in World War I and World War II is not really being given the attention it requires. Today we have what do you call it? There are days that are used to mark like the Holocaust. You have the Holocaust remembrance on what the Jews faced. But you don't have a day set aside to honor these African soldiers who took part, sacrificed their lives, as we'll see in the course of the conversation. All the contributions they made, not really put at the front burner. Yes, there have been one or two recognitions, medals to a few. But like you said, somebody said, go back to your country. That means the role your fathers played your forefathers, our forefathers played in what they are benefiting today is not really recognized. They don't really teach them that part of history in their schools to really appreciate it. These African soldiers faced racism, and today it's still there. So that's my own introduction to now.
Thank you very much, Ogaga. You know, I think today when I was having conversation, we said we need to, because most of the time when we do, we just rush through it. You know, we always rush through it, and we don't get to actually just break it down into different session. I think we have 4 sessions, each month, right? So I will
Yes.
employ every one of you that is actually listening today, and if you're not, but that's why we decided to do it by YouTube, so that you have opportunity. Because I know Facebook now they are deleting, they put something they did after a while they did it. So we decided to go through YouTube, so that you can go back and watch and have this conversation. And if you're interested in joining us, just send me a message. And if not, you can drop a message on our Facebook and we can pick it up. I think we said today the key point we're gonna look at is the introduction of the how did we get into this? How did the war started, and how did African actually get into a war that is not their war? Because now, look at, just bring it back to today. There's a lot of things happening, a lot of war going in different parts of the place. And people are choosing, each country are choosing if they will get involved in the war or if they're not going to get involved. I'm just bringing it back to today. So there's war happening everywhere, both in Africa, both in Middle East, both in Europe. And people are choosing to get involved. But during the World War, and this is how World War I started anyway. But during the World War I, World War II, most mainly a European war. You understand me? Was mainly a European war. But Africa did not have the opportunity. The Africa and the Caribbeans. I know some people say, "Oh, what about the Caribbeans?" It's because we're just focusing on the project is on Africa, but we will chip in the Caribbean bit into it. They didn't have a choice to decide if they're going to go for the war. They were asked to go. Yeah. So this is something that, and it is a shame that you are being asked to do something. It's like when you are being asked to, you've been employed. How would I put it? You've been sent on an errand, and by the time you go on that errand and come back, they just speak. Even when you did the errand to the full expectation, without you being given any resources to get to where they send you to, and you're not the only one they send on that errand. Other people were sent on the errand. But when they came back, maybe 4 out of the people that they sent an errand, they decided to give some people medal, and some people they did not give medal. And those ones that even went, they went because the thing was affecting them. The war wasn't affecting us in Africa. But through colonial colonization, we have to get ourselves involved. And a lot of people, I remember hearing this story from my mom was telling me that some of our uncles were picked in the farm. You know, some of them were picked in the farm. So some of the people were even stopped on the road, and they intervened. They say you're going to war, because people were run. They said a lot of people were run. People taking their children to run away, not to get involved, because you're going to a land. And if you look at it, where the war was taking place is in Europe. Cold, freezing, the food they don't know. The food is different. The weather is different. The culture is different. And when I was looking at some of those, because I had opportunity to speak with my my uncles, and I was asking them about what their father went through, and he said my uncle, he went deaf because there was no protector. You know, when they are putting the bomb, there was no, a lot of the African soldiers, they didn't have boots. Some of them didn't have a proper boots. They didn't have a proper overall. Most of them were put on front line, even when you don't even understand what you are going to do there. Some of them were not properly trained. They just hand them gone. Ogaga, what is your view on this?
Okay, let me start by first, this war had nothing to do with Africans. It was not our war. African had already been partitioned. The different colonial masters, the Portuguese, the Spanish, you had the Germans too in parts of Africa, then parts of East Africa, part of you had the British, you had the colonialists as well. So this person had already per se conquered Africa.
Maybe if you switch off your camera, it will be easier. If you switch off your camera, that might be easier if it's not, if the network is poor. While we're waiting for Gaga, so I'm just going to go through some of the things I was saying. So like we say, a lot of African countries were sent to France. This was the Franco was sent to France. Some of them were sent to Germany. Some of them were sent to Belgium to actually help them during the war. And I know that over 2 million African actually.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, if you can switch off your camera, that would be better. So maybe then then you can speak better, because I think the network is disturbing you. So over 2 million African soldier was involved. And I don't know what is the statistic of how many of them that returned back, because I know quite a good number of them were killed. And I don't even know if our government actually have the name of people that was sent, because some people were just picked on the road and they asked them to join the army. It would be nice. And one of the things that actually really baffle me is that when you go to the memorial where they have all the soldiers in World War, they just had one plaque for Africa. And I said, this is wrong. You can't have one plaque. Africa is a continent, and different countries participated. I think that needs to be redo, because if you go to the memorial, they need to just having a plaque that Africa. No, call the name of the African country that took part. It would be nice that each African country should have their own plaque. Over to you, Gaga. Are you able to speak now? Because I know you don't need to on the camera. Just go, because I think your network is a bit bad. So over 2 million Africans and Caribbean soldiers actually.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, but it's not. If it's either you switch off the camera to speak, or because when you start speaking to start going, just switch off the camera so that we can hear you properly, because it keep breaking up. Okay,
can you hear me clearly now?
Yeah, I can hear you clearly. Yeah.
Okay, so like I said, the war wasn't ours. So they had conquered Africans, and they saw they didn't have much population the Europeans didn't have much soldiers, and so just like they didn't have much people to plow their fields, and so they had to recruit Africans. You know, much of the war by Africans they didn't really conscript much Africans into Europe. You know, you were talking about 2 million of Africans, over 2 million of Africans took part in this war. Now, when we come next time, when we're talking about the Burma War, we'll be able to delve into Africans in Burma fighting alongside the British and the French. Now, you had the Germany trying to take over Europe. The French were fighting for their towns against the Nazis. They had Africans there, especially from the French-speaking Africa. Europe, other parts of Europe too, they had Africans. There were a lot of fights within Africa because you had Germans too. Germans had taken over parts of Africans, like the Askaris. You have part of the Askaris fighting on the German side in East Africa, in Southern Africa too. You also have parts of the Germans in East Africa. So there was also that fight here, that control. Now Africans also traveling by boats. Majority of them died in the water, could not survive. Some were returned. Now, some of these soldiers, you're hearing me clearly, right?
Yeah, go on.
Okay. I want to state it that why many of these soldiers went to this war voluntarily. You also had majority of the soldiers who did not go voluntarily. They were forcefully conscripted to the war. Now, for those who went voluntarily, it's just based on the European propaganda. Africans were not free. They were being enslaved by these Europeans. But these same Europeans were telling these Africans that this war, if they don't fight in this war, that the Nazis will take over Africa, you know, the propaganda, they will kill them, they will do this to them. So these persons were just misled. Subsequently, we'll see how rebellion came anyway at the end of the day. And for some, this was like pride, like taking part, wearing this colonial uniform, you know, the mentality of some. Being dressed makes them different, prominent, fighting for the white man, you know, not knowing what is in front. Some, they were promised to be paid a lot of money.
It's always like that. We have the Windrush scandal. We're coming to that.
Yeah. So that was there. Now you had these ones who were forced. They were kidnapping a lot of young men in Africa. Some were being forced. The worst was even the French colonies. Villages were burnt down. In fact, France has done a lot of harm to West African countries. And that's why it's painful that the dates, they still do not want to pull out. They owe West Africa a lot of apology. They owe the Francophone West Africa their freedom. They need to let them go if that is the only way they can compensate them. Because they burnt a lot of villages.
Yeah, letting go, is that a compensation?
Not like giving the people time.
Yeah, I will not call that compensation. Compensation is quite letting go. This is compulsory. This is something that they had to do. They had to let go. You understand? Because Africa has never gone to invade other people's country, never go there to fight people, never go there to colonize another country, you know. So that's why I don't like to use the word colonize, because just call it what it is: piracy. It's pirates. So using the word colonization, I think we just need to look at it, because when you go to other people's places and just it's a different. I know some people say, "Oh, people, you guys are migrating." Migration is different, because when you migrate to people's country, you don't control them. You don't. Migration happens. It's a globalization. It's global things. But when you go to people's place and try to control them, hijack their government, hijack their resources, it's piracy. That's what pirates do. Go on. Sorry to budge you there.
So Africans wouldn't have thought to want to go and invade other country, because they were self-sufficient. They had everything they needed, and they were content. So, but let's look at the other aspect in continuation. Now, some village heads, especially from northern Nigeria, the Fulanis, and a few southwesterners in Nigeria, you know, they had good relationship with the colonizers, and so they promised them a lot.
What about other African countries? Did they also do the same?
I will get into other African countries, because the conscription of Africans was not just Nigeria. You had the Cameroonians, you had the Algerians, you had the Egyptians, you had the Eritreans, you had the Somalis or Somalians. You had Namibia, you had South Africa, even when they were under apartheid, you know, virtually almost all over Africa, even Benin Republic. So that's why I just generalize it, you know, but I'm just using like Nigeria as a case study, where these emirs, you know, they have control over their people, much unlike southern Nigeria, that the citizens are more independent minded, you know, and like the southeast, where is a kind of republican system. One person cannot just stand up because you're a chief or you're a king to decide. So it's easier in northern Nigeria. That's why in Nigeria, majority of the soldiers were from the north, or persons who lived or grew up in the north. Now, sometimes they will send people who were stubborn, who they felt were stubborn, who they felt were miscreants. Sometimes they would kidnap and conscript persons who they felt were threats to their rulership or to their throne, to this war. So it was sad. It was sad because many, that was the first time they'll be in water, and you know the condition does not provide them with coverings, with protections, and a lot of them died in the sea. Many didn't return back. You know, it was really sad.
Do they even have names of people that went? Was there any like a data?
That's the thing. Now, majority of these persons, unlike in Europe where they keep their records, they didn't really keep records of most of these Africans. Like some, I watched their videos. I think a Kenyan World War I, World War II veteran. They didn't even give them names.
Really?
On what they did was they engraved their numbers. They had numbers they gave to them, conscription numbers, and so on they will engrave the number on their chains. You know, treating Africans like animals, like they
it's not like they did not have names. I believe, because I believe there will be a record transfer. There should be a record transfer.
Even the place from which they eat from, they will conscript their numbers. So they did not even have their names. And so even like there was the Africans that went to Europe, even France, even especially the British. After the war was won, they sent the blacks away when it was time for photo ops to take pictures because they wanted to look like the British, their pride. They were the ones who actually fought the war, who won the war, who defeated the Nazis. So when it was time for photographs, they just took pictures of the whites, you know, from the records and this thing I read from historians, and said it was the whites. Meanwhile, the Africans were actually the ones who sacrificed more in battle to rescue these British, French, and other European towns. And so over the decades, the century, they didn't bother to really recognize, to even compensate these soldiers was a problem. It took not too long ago for a few stay alive to even start getting stipends, which was not enough. Even while they were in war, they were the ones doing most of the work. They were the ones who carried the carriages and others on foot by hand in those very difficult and harsh terrain. But they were paid less. They weren't promoted. In one article I read, a historical record, it was just even two blacks that had a promotion, high promotion, at two different times. But the others didn't get the recognition, despite all the efforts they made, you know. So, come to the end of the war. Even if, like you said, if they actually had their records, their names, even after these persons are died, even the few that are still alive or that was alive even like 10 years ago, you know their families. Why are you not recognizing their families?
Exactly.
When they have Holocaust, the Holocaust memorial or remembrance, they would always invite survivor families to honor them for what their forefathers, their grandfathers, their fathers did, or the pains they went through during the Holocaust or during their wars. Why are you not inviting these family members from Nigeria?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they do it here.
Why are you not showing recognition to them?
You see,
like you have your family members. Why are they not calling? Oh, bring this thing, let's check.
Exactly.
The records are there. Let's see. Why are they not showing that? But if it was white, so racism is still real. They still have a long way to go. While we're still talking about reparation for slave trade, this issue has to be in the front burner. They must recognize, they must have a declaration, the UN or the Commonwealth, not just the Commonwealth, because the war was more, not just Britain, not just France. So they need to get a UN resolution to recognize these forgotten African soldiers. And for those who are still living, to give them the compensation that that is due them. They need to recognize their families, honor them, invite them to events, have a UN day for these African soldiers and keep honoring them. Because Africans are still making contributions to the growth of Europe today. Africans are still making contributions.
Would you say this is a pattern? Because I like bringing things to life. Will you say this is because I'm just looking at the fact that I definitely know there is no way they will bring those people that went for the war, they will not have a record. I'm very sure as they are coming from, as they are, whether the Nigeria, the Ghana, the African country government is handing over the people to the European, to Britain, to handling the soldiers to them, they will handle them with a name. That I believe that there will be name. This is this person is this. I believe they will hand them over with name, and I'm sure there will be a book. There will be a book, because for you to ship somebody from that place where they're going to fight war, because how do you send them back? There will be like a record, but they decided not to. Actually, they might have decided, you know what? Look, if you look at the Windrush issue, this and if you know the Windrush issue, what happened during Windrush, where a lot of people were invited to come down to Europe to work, to UK to work, to help build after the war. After a while, they say they don't have their record again. It's just like, is it a pattern whereby a system of operation that most of the time they will engage in some of the Commonwealth country or African country to participate, and after a while you start changing policy. We see what is happening today. We see what is happening. The caregiver visa is around, where a lot of people were invited to come and do care, and after a while the government start changing policy. You know, so it's just like it's a system, it's a pattern that has been played over and over again. Because you cannot tell me that you don't have a record of people that come in, so that when they are going back or when you are celebrating, at least read out those names. You know, read out those names. Send a letter to the family. You know, send a letter to the family. We understand it, because they do it for their till tomorrow. Every Remembrance Day, they invite family, relative that has part of the war to come and also celebrate them. I know they will say, "Oh, your government have to do it," because it was not our war. As much as we say our government, it wasn't our war. You know, it wasn't African war. So when people come,
but can I chip in and say, Lucy? Can I chip in?
Go on.
You know, in as much as we expect them to move, they won't move except we move them. We need to have a movement. We need to have African organizations come together to lobby this. You know, it took some organizations to get the UN, the Commonwealth, to even recognize a few, that they started paying stipends that is not enough. So we need African NGOs in Europe, just like we are getting back our artifacts. These artifacts would have not been brought back if not the Africans in diaspora who started the movement, you know, and even started shaming them, you know, that it moves them to start returning some of these artifacts. So these Europeans will not move to recognize until African organizations in Europe come together to say this is a project and has to be achieved, and we need to work together as one. We need to make presentations to the British Parliament, to the French Parliament, to the UN. It might take time, but when they see that we Africans are serious and we're mounting pressure, sending letters, sending memorandum, you know, sending lobbyists, then they will know we're actually serious. Yeah, like the issue of reparations, it's because our African leaders are not interested. Few organizations are there, but our African leaders that we have, is not a priority for them. The priority of African leaders is to grab power and remain in power. So that's my point on this. So I won't blame them if they are not making any moves. except if somebody does not tell you he's hungry, how do you want to give the person food?
So
The
I think,
person will need to say, I
yeah,
am hungry.
so okay, we've identified it. I think the first thing we need to do is actually know if what are the records. Did they have were their name handed over to them? I believe they should be named. Were they
Okay,
named?
maybe in a subsequent program when we are going deeper into these topics, one will be mentioning names. But so far, my research is just few names that we just get. Instead, we have names of groups like the Askaris, you know, the German Askaris, the British African or the King's African Rifles, those groups, you know. But we don't usually get names. We just have few Africans. So I think that's what we need to dig in deep.
To see. And you know, one thing I would like to say is that most of these things are not even being taught in the school. Even when you look at some of this, there's a lot of school you go, you see about 80% of black children in there. These things are not taught in school, you know, and especially in the during the Memorial Day, they're not taught in school. They're not nobody. They just say, "Oh, with the people that fought in the war, you see them coming by the what's they call it, the poppy." And you know, part of our projects, we even know that there were different poppies. You know, not the poppies that they used to celebrate. The black poppy is for the African and the Caribbean soldier. I was looking at all the poppy that was actually laid down. No, even one. I know that when they say the African people, they too they come with a red poppy, and I said, are they not aware that there is a black poppy? That the black poppy is actually is a symbol for the Africans and Caribbean that died during the war. Why are they not bringing it out? You see, there's a lot of
Like I still say, it is we Africans that we push for this. Unfortunately, we have Africans uh, in parliaments in Europe, like in Britain, we've had prominent Africans. But it seems once they get into parliament, they have the white thinking. They push the white agenda. They forget where they come from. They forget that they were there by the sacrifices their ancestors had made. And they had to remember their ancestors, you know, and try to push these things. It doesn't make them less blacks. It doesn't make put them out of place if they push the African agenda. If they will understand that, I think most of these things would have. For example, let's say Nigerian community or the black female entrepreneur wants to push this through parliament. Who would you want to meet? Is it the Africans that you want to lobby? But unfortunately, if we look at people fighting these things, if we look at even these historians and writers, majority of them are whites.
yeah.
Okay, the African
The story will be one-sided.
Especially like I've listened to like this historian Barnaby Phillips. He's not an African, but he's written a book on I think what's the title of that book again? Something like Africans fighting a war that was not their own. You know, I'll remember the title in the next this because we're going to delve into his book and other historical works. So you find these people pushing for it. You find the European media, you see the German media like WWII did a good job, you know, and others talking about these forgotten African soldiers in World War I and World War II. If you even see most of the people, historians who come on their show, are the white historians telling the African story. They travel down to Africa, they travel to Kenya, they travel to Nigeria to interview some of these ones when they were alive. What's the African media doing? What are the African journalists doing? They spend more time on politics, covering political issues in Nigeria, in Africa, that will give them money. And if you even look at their reportage here, it's even mainly biased. So if they feel for them to delve into this, let me say it, forgotten stories, it might not put money in their pocket. So African historians, African writers need to get their hearts in order. It's not just to do a project in university, to do a thesis, and you just write, drop, defend your project, and you drop it. That shouldn't be the main aim. The main aim is to get the world to hear the African story by Africans. We know that in the past, African fictions, African stories were mainly told by the whites, by the Europeans, by the Americans. And they played it from their own, I'm sorry to say, not all of them are racist, but in the 19th century, it was more of racist work, where you would see even school children being taught that Africans, if you go to Africans, what you see are dead bodies in the streets, deaths, you know, hungry,
nothing good come from there.
Exactly. Until Africa, we had African writers like Chinua Achebe, Ngugi wa Thiong'o, and others started telling the African stories. And you see that when they started telling the African stories from Africa, many Europeans became interested.
Do you know, that reminds me? Yeah, that reminds me. I think they were doing some. I think that it was a Black History. So one of my child did a Black History about resources that come from Africa. Then I think he took it to the school and said, cocoa. We have cocoa. Cocoa come from Africa. That's what they used to make chocolate. Do you know what the teacher said to him? He said no. The cocoa they used to make chocolates is from Mexico. It's not from Africa.
Imagine. And they will get these cocoa seeds, make the chocolate, and sell in Africa. If we're that odd.
Do you know, I wanted to go to the school and go and harass this woman. I just say, you know what, like I choose my battle. Let me leave this woman to fool herself. I now went to the book and I opened the whole thing. I show my child. I said, let me tell you, that teacher is just jealous. He cannot stand the fact that the chocolate that is eating is from Africa. That what is used to make the chocolate, he cannot stand it. That is why he's talking that rubbish. Go on, sorry, Ogaga.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. If we have serious African leaders, just like today we have Dangote Refinery, one of the largest in the world, now even exporting its products even to the US, to Europe. So we should be able to have African investors, especially investors in Cote d'Ivoire, set up chocolate factories and start producing chocolates in Africa and exporting them. You know, so like I said, if we do not tell our stories, if we do not make moves, I'm hoping by next year we'll be able to come up with a program, we'll come up with an event where we would have a lecture, where we'll bring not just historians. I think when we start having that, if they won't remember. We will remember. If possible, we use the Chatham House. You know, we can use Chatham House to have that discussion, that conversation. So when we start having it yearly, I think you should start working on that.
But let me ask you. I know we talk about Europe. We make a lot of emphasis on Europe. Back home in Africa, did they ever talk about World War I, World War II if we participated? Is this taught in school? Because I never knew. When I was in school, even when I did history, I did government, at no point, because even the history that is being taught in school is a foreign history. You know, it's God. It's a foreign history. Remember
exactly like
the days of literature. The days of literature. We were doing Macbeth. I've never seen them do any literature year on Chinua Achebe, any African literature book. But we were doing Macbeth. We were doing Romeo and Juliet. You understand? So is this our contribution in war? Is it being taught in school in any point?
I said I never even knew Africans took part in World War One and World War II until I think it was you who I heard it from when you were talking about, you've been passionate about this because you have family members who got into the war. So when you were talking, as I said, Africans, Nigerians, Cameroonians, Moroccans, Egyptians, took part in World War. So I never knew this war even affected Africa. But anyway, in our next edition, we'll look at the positive side, how Africans, when they went to this war, like I was listening to some veterans speak, that they saw the whites differently when they got to the war. Like, so these people are not invisible. These people are not angels as they thought. They will see them so weak. So these people, they are not even stronger than us. They are just like us. They can also die. They can also run away from war. Some African soldiers were also helping these whites. Say, really? We never knew. And that is how some Africans also thought the war made them to think. So we are fighting a war that is not our own. But these whites are fighting to gain freedom, fighting for their lives against another power. So which means we can also fight for our freedom. After those world wars, that's when you now started having
independence.
Africa having independence. Some of them came back, started fighting, rebelling against the colonial masters. But we'll also see the challenges in our next episode. We'll also see the challenges some of these ones faced. When we say they don't talk about them, there was also discrimination against them when they came back, the few who survived the war. Serious discrimination against them. And so it was easy to not talk about their stories and preserve.
I also see, because I was looking at some of the thing you sent me when we're looking at the harsh weather, disease, hunger, limited weapon, limited resources for them.
Exactly.
Like if you see, one of our projects we're doing is about food. We're doing it in library. We're talking about the food that you expect an African man to be eating, especially when you are sending him to go and do a work. we're looking at correct pounded yam, correct nice asheke and the what is it? What is those Ghana food? The kenke, the fufu. None was none. You know, they had nothing. You know, you're going to fight war. This is why I am really. Sometimes I just sit there and I'm trying to think about what these people were going through. You were not in your own land. You were in a different climate. You were not given a proper clothes to wear or a proper shoe. And also, you were not deprived of food. And even the little food they gave to you, some of them they were giving bare minimum. The torture they received from their fellow Caucasian, from the fellow British soldier, from French soldier, from British soldier, from German soldier. These are people that are helping you. You are still maltreating them. I can't, the level of wickedness. I'm just, I can't.
You're not the most painful. You're not the most painful part. The war was being funded from African productions. So they were getting our rubber, our cocoa, our granules, and our minerals, not just human resources. Our mineral resources and others we also used to fund the war. So at the end of the day, you say you're not going to recognize these Africans, their contributions.
And you know, when you come back, some people will say, okay, I know, because me, I like having conversation, because sometimes when people don't have a debate about things, that is when you see them. Some people come with some kind of stupid ideology. You might say, how does that go to relate with people now coming to Europe? People will say, how does that got to relate to it? Do you know when you constantly poke, you know, like you have a bag of rice, and you constantly put hole in that bag of rice. You put hole and you put a cup. You put hole and you put a cup. What will happen to the bag of rice? That bag of rice will be empty. So Africa is like a bag of rice. Slavery come, you put a hole. World War come, you put a hole. After the war come, you come back again with more foreign companies. There are more foreign companies coming in, extorting, not giving back. You constantly put hole into this continent, and you expect the people to survive. And then when they come, you're telling them they're not supposed to be here. Our country is full. This is this. There's no space. You know, I was having a conversation one day with somebody. I said, Shell, Total, Chevron. Is it? Yeah. Total F. Chevron is Chevron, is it British? It's British, is it?
It's America.
It's America. Okay, Shell, Total. You have F. You have which other
F now and Total. There's one Total.
There's one, yeah. So then you have which other
you have this Ajib, former Ajib.
Former Ajib. All these, BP. Yeah, all these are British petroleum company in Niger Delta, extorting crude oil. Don't put back into the community. If you maybe they think that people just want to leave their home. People don't. Sometimes some of the things you do, foreign policy, some of the things you do, it creates havoc in other country And then you see that is the side effects of some of these things. That is what is causing this. I always say nobody is an island. You cannot be an island. We got to a stage where we were living in a global world, because when I see some of this, I was listening to the debate the other day. People were saying, "Don't come here. We are full. We are this." I just look and say, today is Africa. Tomorrow is Middle East. One day it will be Europe too. One day you never can tell. You know, it's a virtual circle.
You know that reminds me of Dubai. Dubai, that is so beautiful. Who are those who built Dubai? The Pakistanis, the Indians. They use them as slave workers. It's just like what happened in World War I and II. But after building Dubai, all the promises at the end of the day, they started throwing them away. They can't enjoy, their children can't enjoy the city their parents helped to build. Cheap labor. But just to have their children enjoy education, good accommodation, they are not having that. They are not remembered. So the world keeps betraying those who helped them build their cities.
It's a shame. Anyway, guys, we're coming to an end of this conversation. Our next session is December. Is it the 17th of December, right?
15th of 17th.
Yeah. So I think so. Let me see. I don't want to give you the wrong dates. I want to make sure I give you the right date so that we can chip in. We don't want to throw all the bombs now.
Yeah, this is just a pilot episode.
Yes.
Pilot.
We don't want
to
fire. We just want to make sure that when we are breaking the canal, we hit the small, so that you don't crack and open. So we're hitting it gently. So I think our next session is the 17th of December. 17th of December, where we'll be diving into other area of this forgotten African soldier. What they did. That time we'll be looking at the work they did. The impacts, their contribution. How many of them from each African country, how many of them went, and what they did and how they did it. So if you think Europe just won the war or Britain just won the war, my brothers, no, they don't just won the war. A lot of Africans and Caribbean actually helped them to win that war. So ladies and gentlemen, my lovely guest, listener, Ogaga in the house, thank you for helping me to actually co-host this event today. I like co-hosting with you because the brain, it's like, you know, the brain is touching. The brain is...
You're wonderful. If they allow you 4 hours, that's not good day enough for you to just...
You know, let me tell you something, Ogaga. You know, history, that was one of my best subjects in school. History and literature was I enjoy every moment of it. And I think we've come to that era where we need to be more historian, because we're beginning to forget. We don't. Some of us are eating too much of jacket potato, too much of jollof rice, too much of chicken, too much of lasagna, too much of pasta, too much of cheese. You know, we've had too much of good life. We're beginning to forget history. I think history, this era that we are, this Gen Z era, we need, because a lot of people that know this history will pass away, and the Gen Z might forget. You know, the Gen Z, the millennial, which of the other side? They're not forgetting they call the other part. There's a lot of names they're calling themselves.
Millennials and Gen Z,
yeah. because they might forget. When I see people come out and rally in Europe and say all sorts of things, migrant this, migrant that, you go and read history and don't read one side of history, because there's a reason why God give us 2 eye, 2 ear, 2 nostril, 2 hand, 2 legs. Read the 2 sides. Everything has the other side. Don't be naive. Don't be ignorant of your history. Read both the good, the bad, the ugly. Read everything, so that when you are talking, you speak with truth. Because if we don't continue to speak in truth and know what we are talking about, we're going to run down this wall. We're going to run down the whole place. It's a global war, and nobody can tell what will happen to them today, tomorrow. Let's keep the peace and be welcoming. So I was going through somebody's page the other day. I think they invited me, and this lady was saying, he said when the European go to Africa, they call them expertise, visionaries, missionaries. They give them all sorts of posh and sophisticated name. But when Africa come to Europe, illegal immigrants, migrants, terrorists. May God have mercy. May God have mercy on some people. I'm telling you, it's not nice. It's not nice. So guys, you know what? We need to shut this down. We need to shut this down, because we're going to bring some of those conversation again. Thank you all for watching. It is me, Lucy Azaya, aka Madam CEO in the house. I've not been on live for a long time. I've not been live for a long time. I've not been on live. I've been busy,
Busy preparing the continent, cooking.
Yeah, I think I need to. I enjoy live shows. So because you see the real me. So thank you all for watching. It has been amazing. Like I say, our this 2025 Black History event is all about our project this year is for the forgotten Africa, the unsung Africa, soldiers and the Caribbean who fought for World War I, World War II. Myself with Blades or Gaga will be coming live and we'll be talking about it. Also, by next year, we'll be going on our radio show. For those of you that have missed out, you join us on our radio show where we'll be putting more light. We need to dissect this issue. Maybe from this, some people invite other people to come and learn. People in government, I believe some people will be watching what we are saying. While you are making some of this decision, I know at the moment in our parliament, there's a strong debate about migrants, about this, 20 years, no 40 years. When you are making this decision, let's remember those that have given their life, given their time to build this country, where resources has come from to build this country. Karma is there. Karma, we should all be reasonable, put on our humanity sympathy, to help one another. Thank you all for listening, and I will see you all soon. Let's get tomorrow. I'll be at the Black Female Facebook, where we'll be working, myself and Susan, I think maybe Asa will be working on the tapestry, showing you some of the work we'll be doing. And I think on the next week, on the 28th, which is Friday, we'll be at Woolwich Common again, where we'll be doing, on the 25th, we'll have an event on the 25th, is it? 25th, okay, that one we're doing it for the Nigerian community. Okay. So, but on the 28th, we'll be at Woolwich Common Community, where we're doing a memorial service to honor. This is just the beginning. Memorial service. We want to make sure that every year a special memorial service is done for the forgotten African soldier. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you soon. Take care and bye. Have a great day. Ogaga, ciao, ciao to my people.
All right. Have a nice